I'm so distraught over the whole thing. Let's just move on and talk about the Bucks. All right. Adam Schefter just tweeted that the Antonio Brown deal is now official. Bruce Arians, who was pretty vocal about AB not fitting in with this team earlier this year, talked to Peter King about the short leash that AB is now on, saying this: he screws up one time, he's gone. I don't think he will because he wants to play. I love Mike Evans. Today he didn't touch the ball till the fourth quarter, but he just wants to win. Chris Godwin, same way. Gronk, same way. If AB's not that way, then we're going to have a problem. B, Brian Westbrook, back with us. It doesn't feel right for me to give you the B nickname the way Brandon does. It just didn't roll off my tongue. So, Brian, I will ask you this. Will Antonio Brown be a good fit in Tampa?
You know, Jenna, I think you're great in the Zoom meetings, and I think you're even better on the show. So let's start there. Here's a question for Antonio Brown. I don't know that I'll start here. I know that on the field he's a good fit. He can run every route on the route tree. He can catch the ball short and take the ball the distance. He can run deep routes and get open. He can run crossers and get open. We know that across from Mike Evans, he can be one of these guys that can be prolific on the football field. The big question, and the question that nobody, and I mean nobody except for Antonio Brown, can answer is how he's going to be off the field. Is he going to be a distraction? Is he going to be one of these guys that comes in and causes a problem? And Bruce Arians has already said, if he doesn't do everything the right way, then he will get kicked out of there as fast as he was brought in there. So I think Antonio Brown, a guy that's been out of football for a very long time, says, okay, I missed the game. I'm just going to try to my best to fit in and go out there and play. And I think if he does that, he'll certainly be successful on the football field.
All right, so I think he'll probably work out on the field, but we're now to a point where we must acknowledge the other things that go along with adding Antonio Brown. And when Bruce Arians called him a diva, when Bruce Arians said he wasn't a fit, when Bruce Arians said we're not bringing him here, those things don't change just because your wide receiving core gets banged up. And by the way, their whole core played this past weekend. They might not be 100%, but a lot of guys aren't 100%. But I do think this shows the massive power Tom Brady has in the organization. Because, I mean, Bruce Arians was considered, he just got an award for it. I apologize, I can't remember the exact name, but one of the champions for women in the NFL. And this undercuts that quite a bit, given what Antonio Brown's been accused of and what Antonio Brown is still entangled in legally. So the only reason you do that is A, if the most important guy on your team, Tom Brady, really wants it, and B, you really believe he can make you that much better. And while I agree there is very little risk here, I do wonder, Brandon, how much reward is there really? You've made a big point, and it's not wrong, that the last 5 weeks, Tom Brady's numbers have been the best 5-week stretch of his career, save his 2 MVP seasons. That what he's done post-week 2 is vintage peak Tom Brady statistically. So and he's doing that with a banged-up receiving core. So how much better does AB make you? And how will this land, forget with your fans, forget with the people who work for the team, how will this land with Mike Evans, who was already on pace for his worst season since his rookie year, for Chris Godwin, who's never been paid in this league? Like, to me, those are legitimate questions to ask, but Brady must really, really believe that this is going to work after his experience of one good half playing with AB in New England.
Yeah, well, that's a lot. You threw a lot at me, right? So first of all, let's talk about AB as the player, as the person, excuse me. I believe in second chances. I think we all believe in second chances. And last year, the thing that was so alarming was his inability to change, his want to not want to change. And I think he may be on the right track, because when you look at just him going from someone who was making a lot of headlines, there was a lot of things he was doing digitally and socially in the last couple of months since the suspension. He's been in hiding. So I don't know if he seeked the help that he needed. I'm not sure, but that is a step in the right direction. Let's say he's going to come in and be a model citizen. Let's say he's going to come in and do the things he needs to do. And then we shift to the field. On the field, I think it's a great fit, Jenna. And the reason why I think it's a great fit is because of Tom Brady. Nick, you keep talking about, like, Tom Brady is the one that made this decision. I know there's this back and forth between Bruce and everyone else talking about, well, Tom had nothing to do with it. No, it's because of Tom. Tom has been the one that stood on the table since the New England days for AB. I don't know what type of chemistry they have because, to me, AB is more of a freelance wide receiver. When you look at the things that separated him from everyone else in the league when it comes to playing the position, has been his ability to get out of the original play and go to the next one. Like, he'll run it in, and then he'll run to the corner, Big Ben scrambling, and then you'll see those big plays. That's not Tom Brady's game. Tom Brady's game is be where you're supposed to be, and the ball's going to be there. So something happened in New England where these two got on the same page, and Tom Brady loved what he saw. So for that reason, I think that from a chemistry standpoint, it makes sense because your wide receivers are banged up. Nick, 80%. Dealing with a hamstring injury, dealing with a high ankle, that limits you extremely playing this position. You can't be effective when you can't run. And that's what we're seeing with that position group in Tampa. Mike Evans, you're saying, you already said it, this is going to be one of his worst years. Well, that's why you need help, and that's why you go out and get AB.
Do you think, when you look at where the team is now, that Bill Belichick regrets almost moving on from Tom Brady last year after where things stand right now? I had to ask, Wilds. I'm sorry.
Well, look, listen, we talked about it yesterday, and now everyone's trying to talk about it. This is the hot topic. It was coming into this year. Who was the reason for all the success in New England? Was it Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? Look, first, let's highlight what Bill Belichick has done. Just some of the ultimate Bill Belichick moves. First, the Jets move. I guess the non-Jet move, not going to the Jets. That was big. That was a great decision. We should have saw his genius back then. Second, Tom Brady moving on from Bledsoe. That was big. Wilds, another one, Randy Moss, bringing in Randy Moss. Oh, Randy Moss is done. And Wilds, Nick, you guys could probably add on to it. Bill Belichick has made great decision after great decision, year after year after year. That's what makes him great. But it only took 7 weeks into this season to realize that this is the worst move Bill Belichick has ever made. The worst move. It's not because of Cam Newton. It's because he had no plan at the quarterback position. You can't tell me Jarrett Stidham was the plan. You go from the GOAT to Jarrett Stidham. And Cam Newton, you're lucky to even have Cam Newton, even how bad he's playing the last 2 weeks, because Cam Newton was a guy you signed a couple weeks before camp. You lucked out into getting Cam Newton. So for me, this is the absolute worst decision ever made. Now, I'm not one of these guys that was like, oh, I love this debate. It's one or the other. To me, they both, it's 50-50. You have the GOAT football player and you have the GOAT coach. They did it together. It's not about Bill Belichick. It's not about Tom Brady. But if we want to have this discussion, look at the success they're having in Tampa compared to the success they're not having in New England. Tom Brady in Tampa, they're turning everything around down there, from being the worst penalized team, everything, Nick.
So I'm going to surprise you here. The who deserves more credit, Brady or Belichick, it's not 50-50. It's 75-25 Brady. I will always give more credit to the star player. Always. But that's not what we're talking about. That's a different question than this, which is not who deserves more credit for the 20-year run. The question is, did Belichick make a mistake in year 21? And I am here to tell you no. Because right now, we are evaluating Tom Brady through the prism of his stock has not been higher at any point this season, or honestly, in the last 2 or 3 years, and Cam, whose stock is at its low point of the year. So right now, it obviously looks like a mistake. But what we know about Tom, no matter how great the numbers have been this season, is in a clean pocket with time. He has been excellent, better than I thought he would be. But in the face of a pass rush, without that offensive line that you, Brandon, call the best in the NFL, he's been miserable.
Correct.
And part of the problem for New England is that offensive line has not been good. There are a lot of other problems. Cam got COVID. The skill position guys that Brady had to deal with last year. See, I know it's not Tom's problem, but it wouldn't. The offensive line wouldn't be better if he were there. And what Belichick knew, Wilds, was that with or without, and this is the key, with or without Tom Brady, the New England Patriots in 2020 could not win a Super Bowl. So he wanted to turn the page and figure out, do we have our quarterback in-house or do we need to go get one? They found out it wasn't Stidham. Now they're going to find out if it's Cam or not moving forward over the next 9 weeks of the season. But with or without Tom, the Patriots were capping out at the AFC East title. So no, I don't think Belichick made a mistake, and I don't think by the end of the season it'll look like a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. And Brandon, here's the thing I don't like about this conversation. Tom Brady put his house up for sale in August. The whole season was a wash. Nothing Bill Belichick could have done after the last game of the season could have been like, hey, could you take your house off the market? Tom Brady was mentally checked out and had the moving guys there as soon as the season was over. So the idea that the Patriots were going to come in with this Godfather offer and make Tom Brady stay and, oh, please, he was ready to move on. So I think it's not necessarily a disingenuous question. I just think it's an oversimplification on the divorce between Tom Brady and the Patriots. Meanwhile, you do have a good point of like, I don't quite know what Bill Belichick's plan was because Cam kind of fell into our laps and it doesn't look like Javelin's the guy. It doesn't look like Hoyer's the guy. But rule number one of this show, take integrity, right, Nick? Rule number two, you don't question Bill Belichick. So I'm sure he had a plan that I didn't know about. So I'm not questioning him, but I just,
It's okay to question Bill Belichick, Wild. It's okay.
No, it's not.
Listen, he's not perfect.
No.
We know he's not perfect. And that's what we're saying here. And Nick, I can't believe you're going to continue to defend this. It only took 7 weeks, man. It's out there. And when you talk about offensive line, I said this yesterday. I'm not in that locker room. But I do believe when I'm watching these games, the last 2 games, that Cam Newton may not be setting the protection right because you have never seen that in the New England offense. You have never seen just free hits on the quarterback. Now, will a guard or a center get beat at times?
They had a quarterback
but they
the
have
last
a
few
nickel.
Years who in the but Brady, that's because
Nick,
the last
so when you
couple
talk
years,
about
Brady,
offensive
if
line,
there was
the
a
quarterback
rusher,
has a
he
lot
would just
to do
throw
with
it
that.
away.
It does,
We didn't see hits on the quarterback because Brady would throw away and turtle.
Nick, I sat in these meetings for 13 years, and it's been the same game plan for 13 years about how to stop Tom Brady, get to him, make him uncomfortable. Going back to the Giants days when the Giants beat them in the Super Bowls, it's the same thing. We talk about the Patriots and Tom Brady, what they do well, what they don't do well, how to stop them. The same way for 20 years. Oh, Bill Belichick's going to take out your #1 receiver. To get to Tom Brady, hit Tom Brady, and he will look bad. So, yes, he's in year 21, and the game plan hasn't changed. That's why he has a really good offensive line around him, because when he does, what does he do? He becomes the best quarterback in the league.